Hi everyone, I'm Gianfranco and this is the second episode of the CTO Lounge. Today with me we have Anna Topol, that is like our second guest here. Anna is CTO in IBM, so really nice to have you here, Anna. How are you?
Very good, and thank you for the invitation.
So yeah, Anya, maybe you can start introducing more about yourself, your career, so the audience will know you better.
Thank you. I have been in IBM for 25 years, and I had the pleasure of being now CTO for 13 years. And I always laugh that, that's why you have these interviews probably because most of the people think that CTO is just one job. But once you become a CTO, especially in a big organization, you will see that there are differences between various CTO roles. So I sometimes feel like I already had four different CTO jobs. And I think that's why it's so good to talk about it.
Right. So yeah, this is like my first question really because I'm CTO in a dev shop called Somnia Software, and we mainly specialize in creating mobile and web apps for our clients. But being a CTO in IBM could be like something different. I assume that there are like many CTOs around the organization. So what exactly is your focus nowadays? How it differentiate from other CTOs across the company or across the different companies across the world?
Yeah, we you can imagine IBM has over 200,000 people. It's a huge organization,
Yeah.
and so we have each business group unit has a CTO. And I think that what I would say is that what was surprising to me, maybe the approach was this: before I became a CTO, I was working for a CTO. And so my assumption was very simple. All the CTOs are like this gentleman, right? You have a
Right.
vision, but that's what the CTOs do. And then I became a CTO, and right away I realized my job is a little different than his. And this was, I was a CTO in a systems organization. So, as you can imagine, much more hardware. And really, that was very focused on opportunities to integrate software and hardware. That was, my role was really to work with the CTO and software group. So, this was the interesting part. So, you have two CTOs working together. When I worked for the corporate organization in IBM, you have a different mission. Then your CTO role is really a CTO of innovator for the whole company. So you are no longer just looking at the specific organization or a group, but you need to look across. My last job was as a CTO in the research organization. My first role as CTO in the research organization was very ops focused. A lot of operations focused to our industry organization at the time. The very, very last one is all about clients, really working
Nice.
directly with the clients. What other CTOs want to do? So, which is what the clients want, and really aligning with them. So very different roles depending on who and how you work.
Of course. So yeah, you have had different perspectives. So, and what can you say like on a daily basis that you do? Because you named like research and development. You named also working with clients. There is a typical part of the job that is working with your team and your structure. How big is that structure, and how do you manage like different people across the team, right?
Yeah. I would assume that, most of the people have something very similar where we are assumed to always do architecturing, platforming, and integration. That's what we are assumed to do. And
Yeah.
no doubt, 50% of our job is that, right? And helping people do it. But I think that you could not succeed as a CTO to create the best platforms for the future if you didn't spend the same amount of time thinking of what's next, what's the strategy, where the big bets are, right? And so you have to have 50-50. I think like you sit on those on a stool with the two pegs, right? You have to be continuously discussing with your full organization and with people who also affect the strategy of your own company, what's next, what's limiting us, what we need to change, and where the innovation is. And then you have to deliver. I think both are. There's no doubt that people want us to do that first job, deliver, deliver, deliver. But you wouldn't succeed if you were not fully aware of capabilities and what you need to bring.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
mean,
assuming it's the same for you, even if it's a smaller group, right? You have to have both of those hats on all the time.
yeah, of course, because yeah, in a way, we need also to stay relevant, stay ahead on the trends that are happening, like how software development is changing, and what are we going to provide to our clients like 5 years in the future, right? I mean, at least 1 or 2 years in the future. But yeah, I think that especially in software is a career that is constantly in change, and especially these last years we're going to talk about more about that. But yeah, I think like having that also strategic thinking is also really valuable for the company to stay ahead. So yeah, just to finish this part of your career, I wanted to ask you like if you could tell us about something that you could have handled differently in the past, and why, like maybe in retrospective of what was your career in becoming a CTO, if there's a lesson learned or something that you have had handled differently in the past.
Gianna, thank you for asking this question. Because that's why I'm talking to you. I'm going to tell everybody that because I thought that I understand what the CTO job is, I work for the CTO, then I became a CTO. I thought it was easy. I really didn't pay too much attention my first few years as a CTO towards that learning from other CTOs. I was so focused on my own work. I was so focused on doing well at my own work that I didn't think that later my career will change, or the jobs change all the time. And so learning from other CTOs is incredibly important. They are your connection to even broader mission, to even broader understanding of what happens around. And I think I have a pleasure now of working with many CTOs from various companies. That gives me that networking and connection. But I wish, even at the very beginning, I listened to podcasts like this, really learning more of CTOs, what their pain points are, what they find standard and common, they don't even pay attention to it, and what's always changing that they have to pay attention to. And I really didn't.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's really valuable, especially again because the software landscape is really constantly changing, and having different opinions of different people that has even more experience is really valuable, especially in software, but in any career, I guess. So yeah, that's really really great. And okay, so I want to change like a little bit the topic. We are going to talk about more technology here, and I think like just to emphasize more with the audience, IBM is a really big company, right? And is maybe you can summarize what you've been doing like last years. You named like you work with the research and development department. How is handled this type of innovation in a big company like IBM, and how affects organizations? Because maybe for the end user is like really hard to see what's the impact that is making in the business, but is certainly doing it. So my question would be regarding innovation. How do you work with innovation in IBM, and how's the impact? You measure the impact in organizations, right?
Yeah. If you look at IBM Research as an organization, it's only 3,000 people. So it's a small group within 200,000 people and plus, right? So it's a
Yeah.
very small group. But I think if you look at the history of successful research organizations throughout the years, they always have two missions. One is to absolutely deliver the roadmaps for features and functions for the products, but the second to be the innovation engine. So you have to do those two things all the time. And I think we all know it's really hard because on one side, you want to put as many resources as possible into delivering products, into delivering on the business opportunities for your company. But then you also have to negotiate and understand how much of the resources you want to put on big bets, the next new things that you need to deliver. And it's not always true that the big bet is in the roadmap of this particular product. It may be a completely new product, right? And I think this is where the skill and the strategy in the organization lays. And in IBM, I'm sure, and many other companies, you see it. At some point, IBM diversified. We sold a few different business units, flat panel screens at the beginning, um, um, pads and other business organ. We had prints in the very beginning of our history as well. But we continue to develop new technologies, and the new track, a big new component of our development is quantum. And so I think that's really the research piece of the organization is you cannot not be developing roadmaps for the products you have. And the products team, of course, define what those products are and you work with them directly. Our AI team is really great at working directly with the product teams. But then you need to have a component that is new, modern, and cutting edge. And developing that strategy for resources, where they are and how they collaborate between each other is important. And I think the very final comment I have is at the space like where we are right now, it's not just that AI helps new products, but AI also helps quantum computers be better, right? And so it's a common reuse of all the resources and almost creating like a fusion teams that help various groups within their research.
That sounds awesome. And what would you say like is the biggest bet nowadays at IBM in terms of innovation? You named like AI, also quantum computing, but what would you say like is the most important focus nowadays?
Yeah, I think if you look at the history, every company that builds a hardware always has a very clear roadmaps. So with quantum computing, you have the same. Quantum computing has a very clear roadmap for hardware, software, and semi interconnected capabilities. In AI, I think we all see it, right? This thing is developing so fast that even within the companies, it's hard to say we have a long-term roadmaps. There's a lot of roadmaps for this year and for the next year, not the very long term. But I think if you step back and you look at IBM and other companies, I think you see it as we are really talking about the future where we all are going to be using compute capabilities that will be classical compute, the AI compute, GPUs and other accelerators, and the quantum computer. So, from the software point of view, the goal is to, I call it the hyper automate everything, that when you code, you don't care it's what's on the back, but on the back, you will have interconnection of all those different compute systems, right? And I think that's the goal. That's the goal, to really think of this as more as a democratize all the compute capabilities for everybody. And we're not there yet, but clearly we'll get there.
Perfect. Yeah, I think like the AI topic, it's a really interesting topic itself. We are going to deep dive a little bit more, but just to wrap this part of this section, I wanted to also talk about sustainability. That is being like also a hot topic. How it's handled at IBM. What is the let's say the position that you take and how it impacts on the decisions you take every day. Yeah, in terms of sustainability and like merging with software itself and hardware.
Yeah, I think sustainability and general AI governance, those are the two topics that are very important to us.
Yeah,
We have our specialists. So I think the blessing I have is as a CTO that I work with somebody who is a sustainability specialist. I work with them on a daily basis and I work with AI governance boards, right? So you semi as a team approach this problem. But what I notice is that most of the time we build more and more complex things. And for that, you are working in software organizations. So, we know every single time you create a software, there will be a next version and the next version and the next version. And so, from sustainability point of view, you just have to know that every single time you create something, it is temporary. This thing will be worked on again and will be worked on again, and it will be modernized and it will be changed. And I think for me, the biggest part is, and I think we're learning more and more about this. How do we truly software develop things always very flexibly? It's not that easy. I think this is the challenge we have, but we have to. I think this is our goal as the people who develop future of technology with AI agents. I mean, it's gonna get only more complex, right? So how do we build things modularly? How effectively do we connect things together? Without, by the way, you also know we don't have standards for everything yet, right? So
Yeah,
we really have a lot of learnings to do.
yeah. I think like especially in AI, it's like going so fast that like I think that the rules or the ethic behind how we can use AI is not written. That's something really that yeah, companies are innovating faster than legally what we are yeah, defining in the countries. So yeah, I think that yeah, of course, software is something that it continuously evolving, and it really happens like in other industries as well. But yeah, you need to maintain that or predict like that it's going to change, and yeah, try to keep it up with the strategy that you can define. But yeah, this is like more talking like in the abstract. Maybe we can deep dive more in terms of AI. That is like the one of the topics that is really everyone is talking about these past years. My first question here regarding AI is how is impacting maybe IBM, maybe your daily work. What are the bets on AI that IBM is doing?
So no doubt, IBM. I think if you look at the story for IBM, you actually hear our CEO always commenting on the fact that we are our own client zero. So if you think of our own finance, we deploy AI for our own finance organization, our HR, our legal department. Like every organization within IBM gets to work on AI. And I
Right.
think this is what becomes very interesting to us who develop those tools. Is I think I've heard somewhere that by 2030, $187 billion will be coming from sales of low code applications. And I see it myself as a CTO. Before, we supported every single AI application, but now somebody who is HR wants to do their own dashboards. They want to do their own things, right? So those groups who are not in an IT organization on their own projects, AI projects and everything else. And so you have to support them, but they have more and more skills that we didn't guess, a few years ago that they will have. So they're
Right.
almost like self-running, and you are just there to make sure that everything works fine. And so I think a lot of core operation is still on software developers within the CTO, ITO organizations and others, but there's many groups that pull more and more of resources thinking that they're gonna handle it themselves. And I think that's a huge change, really, really huge change. And I see it. The semi, low code, no code support that we need to provide to the groups. Very different, very, very different than where we were in the past.
Yeah, and I was also thinking while you were talking that I think that yeah, the UIs of the futures are going to be different, and maybe people that is not technical enough is going to also have this skill of interacting with an AI.
Correct.
For example, when I was a kid, like I learned how to interact with I don't know like Word or Excel and those type of systems.
Photoshop. Oh, I just wanted to tell you, I when I was in TED AI talk in Austria, I met a designer and he was telling me 1970, like when the Photoshop first came, it was
Right.
a tool for designers. They were for the first time, getting to get into this digital world. They themselves were terrified. Photoshop's gonna take their jobs, right? And think about this, years later they have 10,000 tools, they have all different tools. Who's using Photoshop? Me. I'm not a designer, right? And then I'm the one using it, and tools like that. I think that's that we're gonna see, prevalence of the tools that all the other, specialists are using, like this, which were designed for us, right? The semi applications originally designed for us.
Yeah, it really makes sense because yeah, the next generation is going to have this technology like as part of their.
At the fingertips.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And you mentioned also that yeah, IBM was the first client because maybe the different departments are working with the tooling that you're providing. What are the type of tools that generally like IBM decides to develop? Maybe they are the kind of tools that are also put in the customers, such as, for example, I don't know, we can name the biggest ones, ChatGPT, Gemini, different LLMs that are like really popular nowadays. But in terms of working with organizations that they already have these technologies, if they want to, how IBM thinks how to sell this and provide more value.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, like we can name agentics applications and yeah.
Yeah, we have our own models. We have Granite models, but we use others, of course, Claude and others. Everybody's using others. I think the
Right.
nice thing that IBM did is from the very beginning, we called them the Gem sessions. So twice a year, every single employee of IBM gets to play with AI. We actually open 2 weeks when you can build your own applications for your team. You can mix the team. So everybody gets to play with AI. And I think that was very eye-opening for everybody. But now, as you said, we also build our own tools. And I think, you have core application. IBM sells many different softwares to industries, Maximals, security software, industrial software. And for those, we need to embed them with the new AI capabilities. But then on the other hand, as I said, we also build our own Granite models with the thought that those Granite models, in our case, we wanted to be more of the open source type community that uses the open source models that are smaller, and you can use not just the huge models, but you also use some of the smaller models. But I think we are all in the same place. It doesn't matter which models you use. I think we are all in the same place. We really realize that the bar is so much higher than a few years before. A few years before, we would only use AI for video. We would only use AI for language. We'll only use AI. Everything is multi-model now. Most of the applications in the enterprises consider, two inputs, two flows, two sets of data, and everything has to be integrated. And it's the complexity of validating everything. And I think the biggest work we all have, IBM working on our security tools and security capabilities, is truly making sure that our code is secure. And I think there is no rules, John. I mean, if the by the way, and also AI creates more code, right?
Yes.
At the end, AI also validates a lot of security and defenses for us. So if the code is not correct, who's responsible, right? I think this is the big, when I think of the challenges for the future, is the safety and security of the code. As we produce more and more code, every single organization has to really, really look into it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic as well. I was thinking about, like, for example, autonomous cars that maybe it's like more or also controversial because they can have like an impact on accidents that happen in the streets, and yeah, who is ultimately the responsible that wrote that line of code? The company, the
The car
programmer.
company,
Yeah.
who is it?
Right.
And you can mention yourself in a car like this, there's many different software components, there's many different hardware components, right? So where's the responsibility?
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, as this new technology is improving how we are working, at the end of the day, I think that in a way it is minimizing the errors that we used to have. So it's like
All right.
an advantage. I think we need to also solve how the ethics behind that, the legal part of the technology, but it's an advantage that we have. So security
But
is
Gian,
something.
I just want to thank you for saying it, because I don't think many people comment that we actually produce less error now.
Yeah,
I think it's not like we were hiding it. This is just, but it's actually truly incredible. AI helps us create a safer and more tested code too, right? And I think we have to comment on this. But we also have to comment is that the roles of software developers, we're gonna make more code, but we have to have more oversight of all different aspects of the code. Where is it? What is it connected to? How is it integrated? So the
yeah.
roles also changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that software is really special in that sense because I remember when I was at the university, like learning from the very beginning that this is a career that, of course, is again is really changing rapidly. Like maybe in comparison with other careers, it's really different in that sense. But I remember one professor said that if we compare software engineering with civil engineering, for example, it will be catastrophic that a civil engineer maybe designing a bridge, the bridge collapse. But in software, we experience this like even in bigger companies such as Google or Amazon that supports the whole internet, we experience these companies failing in something and the whole world. I mean, Google Chrome collapse or it's down. And if we compare with civil engineering, we as the people will never understand if a bridge collapses. But in software, it's more common in a way. I think that it's because the whole field is really new. It's not something where we define like a mathematical model and it's going to work. It's not physical. We are working in a more abstract and space, right?
Ever
So yeah,
changing, ever changing.
yeah. But I think like it's the beauty of like continue building the rules that are going to work in the future, and it's something that is not written. I mean, uh, developing bridges is something really from a long time ago, right? And software has been here. I mean, less than a century. So yeah, I think like if we think about security, for example, that will be something that maybe is a differentiator in IBM because IBM works with companies and companies often refuses to work with AI because of this component that we ultimately don't know what the models are going to require. Like where's the data going when I
Correct.
use a model, and maybe IBM handles the whole interaction between the model and the user in a safer environment, right?
Correct. And I think that's the whole data management, AI governance, comes in place in really understanding what data was used, what data is used for tests, what data is used where. So correct. I think as an organization we spend tremendous amount of time, but also historically, if you think about IBM, majority 90% of business, finance, travel relies on IBM hardware. That data sits on our systems, and the clients had to trust us where that data is and how we use it, right? And so I think we spend a lot of time really focusing on that.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to ask you also regarding the role of the developer, right? Because we are talking about AI, and the past years has been something really different from how the developer used to work? What's your opinion? I think like we already talk about low code or this type of technologies that are going to be part of the future. But what's your opinion nowadays with the AI? How the developer focus or the developer role is changing?
Yeah. I think that we we don't appreciate. You did say yourself that this is an ever-changing role, ever-changing job. But I don't think we appreciate how much pressure we put now on the developers because the technology is changing so much. We don't, it's not like we give them half a day to read of all the new things and half a day to work. We tell them all the time, build new thing, right? And I almost claim that it's really true. When you are a scientist like I am, I have a permission to build new things and all the time learn new things. I write papers, I write publications, and that helps me to continuously be connected with what's new. And we need to allow developers to have more time to learn from others. And the one thing that maybe it's a nice thing about IBM as a big organization, since we have developers in all different countries, they see all different technologies develop at the same time. So we have within IBM we have an organization that is called Open Innovation Community, and it's literally a community of people. And we start our own studies, we do our own innovative work. So you can work on a specific project, but yet you can also volunteer to help somebody else. And I think on a daily basis, we need to be better and better at helping developers to not just do, if you just do always your own job, you will not even realize that somebody right next to you is doing different job that could be extremely important to you if you just connected the dots, right? And so I think we need to, this fusion of different teams, allowing developers to work on different projects, changing groups, it will be key in the future. Developers, I'm sorry to say, I'm a hardware person. So of course I would say hardware is important. Quantum is developing, there is hardware. But even in quantum, we're developing new coding applications for quantum. We're gonna count more and more on developers. And the comment you made, we commented that the low code is so important. But why is it? We don't have enough skills. I think you and I know that if we really wanted to benefit from all capabilities of the AI has, we need more people with the coding capabilities, right? We don't have enough skills. And so I think it's on us, on the leaders in the company, to help developers continuously be educated. They have currently in our society, I think, the biggest burden of continuously know new things that change like this. But you comment, you see it on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, totally.
We need to give them time to breathe, and it's so hard. It's really, really hard.
No, it's really incredible. I think that if we go back to how we worked 2 years ago, and it's not like really a long time ago, it has really changed how we approach on our daily basis, even. And I think that of course there are other type of careers that you need to constantly keep learning, for example medicine, but it's not like it's going to change you like the way you work 1 year
2 weeks ago, right? The way we worked 2 weeks ago.
So yeah, I think like the way we used to work 5 years ago or even 2 years ago was kind of like slow, and yeah, I think the industry require like more productivity, especially in our field, because there were a lot of demand. So this AI like heading over like us is really a huge thing, because it kind of like solved the problem of going faster. But of course, it's something that developers need to adapt and stay competitive with market. I think that especially on our case, that we are a dev shop, we need to stay ahead and at the vanguard of this technology, because it let us develop the same kind of products with the same quality but faster, and clients will always choose like being more efficient because you can reach the market sooner, and it's going to cost less budget, right? So yeah, I think just to wrap in AI, maybe we can. Of course, it's really mixed up. But what do you think would be maybe in 5 years, 10 years, the landscape of software development, in your opinion, or maybe also considering IBM itself?
Yeah. There's automation is huge. You commented that we want everything faster. We will allow AI to connect to many other things, code more. No doubt. I think we will be addressing more and more complex problems too. No doubt. But here is it's not like I have a golden globe and can comment what's going to happen in 5 years. But I have a different question for all of us. So a few years ago when AI was developing, we were so much more enthusiastic about this, meaning that we were in this era where we were imagining all those possibilities, but they were very attractive. And I think because we are in this era where right now we so much money was deployed into proof of concepts, and now we have to deliver on it. So everything is about efficiency, everything is about productivity, everything. And so I think all the developers actually are being burdened by this as well. And lots of people do not feel as creative. Yes, we do a lot of interesting problems we develop, but many people feel that at the end, what we're doing is developing on business opportunities. And so
Right.
I'm hoping that bubble will burst too. We'll create a lot of tools that create automation, deliver those true ROIs that company wants. And then we will have a chance to go back to this creative side of developers really having time and doing, what if I could do this, right? And so this is, a scientist in me that says, in every single technology, there's this bubble that has to burst, that we need to deliver on ROI, but always after that comes this next excitement era, and that's what I'm waiting for. And this next thing of creativity beyond delivering on ROI.
Yeah, I really empathize with that because working with AI has been in some cases producing kind of the same output, or really focusing on having a large output produced by the AI, and maybe the role of the developer should be in the future more like how to handcraft the whole product and how to differentiate with a regular AI product that anyone can do. I don't know. Maybe the AI will also have like a way of differentiating itself from a regular AI product. I know, but of course, this is like something exciting for a developer because our job is going to also become like more common in a way. What we can do with AI that was like a challenge maybe a few years ago. Now it's at your one prompt away. So I think like it's exciting to think about a developer that is someone that is creative by definition, in my opinion. Because we also are engineers, and engineers also have this kind of creativity to build products. So really interesting. So yeah, just to wrap up, I wanted to also ask you maybe on your personal life, if you weren't a CTO, if you had the chance to maybe embrace or have a different maybe a job, what would you do?
Yeah. So I'm not retiring yet, so I still want to look for a job.
Right.
So I think that originally I'm a physicist by training. So I was working in the labs. I was always very excited about doing this. and then you become a broader, right? You become a CTO. I still want to. I truly want to go back to physics, and in my case, the new development of connecting AI and quantum is so exciting. So for me, it's physics and quantum. But what would it be for you if you were to do it? What would it be for you?
Well, I think that in my case, I really enjoy also physics, but I was more like a mathematician guy. I really enjoy
Awesome.
like, yeah, the math, and I know that maybe physics has like more of a tangible impact on society than.
But the physics of quantum will not continue to develop unless we find new algorithms for quantum computers. So you and I
Yeah,
will work in the future. You'll do right codes, new code for quantum, and I will do quantum systems.
of course, yeah. So we have a plan for the
We have
future.
a plan. Thank you.
Okay, Anya, so it was really nice to have you here in this second episode. I hope we can continue our conversation in the future. I don't know if you want to also say some last words for the audience that will be listening.
I think the comment is very simple. If you think of the future being a CTO, or you're excited about what other CTO do, don't do what I did. Talk to as many CTOs as possible, learn from them. I wish I did it earlier. So thanks for running this program. I think it's really exciting.
Awesome. Okay, it was nice to have you here, and for the audience, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and see you on the next one.
Many successes with this series. I'm very passionate about this. You're doing awesome job. So successes.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.